As a political representative, the area that I represent is very diverse, but it's also got a lot of challenges in terms of poverty and inequality. And when I started to campaign, I felt more and more that it reminded me of my childhood and some of the barriers and the challenges that I faced. And I wanted to represent that community, to be their voice, to encourage them to become more part of the decision making, potentially stand for council, become community councillors, and also raise their voices in the decision making process and bring positive change to that area that they had voted for me to represent.
I think for me the change was just really around making democracy more accessible to people. I think one of the things that I hope is one of my achievements from being elected is that as a councillor, my area now feels more connected to local politics. I'm more accessible than perhaps councillors used to be, you know, through social media and different forms of communication. But I think most importantly, and it's something that I recognised as soon as I was elected really, was that there was no other politicians that had a Midlothian working class accent like me. There was nobody else that was a parent like me as well. So I just really wanted to make sure that politics was as engaging and participative as possible, and that's still my goal even now.
I stood for Parliament for a number of reasons, but mainly because I want to represent people, and particularly disabled people. I also stood for Parliament because I want to see a fairer Scotland, a more equal Scotland and a more just Scotland, and I think that you can do that if you're represented in the room where it happens.
I've always been really frustrated by government's inaction on the climate crisis. That is something that I'm really passionate about, and it's something that scientists know how desperate the situation is, how much of an emergency it is, and how frustrating it is that governments around the world are not doing enough about it. And I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be part of changing that, to make sure that we really were doing everything we can to tackle the climate crisis. And I felt that there weren't those voices. I wasn't hearing those voices in Parliament and in government, and I wanted to make sure those voices were here.
At that time, I was involved in the Women's Forum. We were a bunch of women that were trying to get more women elected and to aim towards gender balance in our elected members across councils and parliaments as well. So as part of that, I was part of a team that organised a day where we were offering training and mentoring and support and encouraging women to stand. And we put up a wall with sort of mock bricks, and I encouraged other women to put their name on one of those bricks if they intended to stand. Somebody came to me and said, "Kokab, your name isn't on one of those bricks." And I said, "No, I'm here to encourage others." And they said, "Well, lead by example. You have the skills, you're able to do that." So I got that nudge and I put my name on the brick, and that's where my journey started towards election.
Well, I was asked, somebody asked me, that was sort of a good start, but I guess I'd been on the fringes of it for a while. And when I was first asked, my children were quite young and I had caring responsibilities, so I declined the invitation to stand for council at that time. And a few more years passed, and I thought, in leading up to the 27 election and having worked for an MP for many years, I thought that was the time to give it a go. If I didn't do it then, I probably never would have done.